Good morning. Wonderful. It's a great pleasure to be here. My love to everybody. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the classical yoga system or the classical yogic system. Now, most people, when they think of yoga, they immediately associate yoga with asanas. Now, if you look, even in India or in the West, whenever I travel and I say I'm classically trained yoga teacher, immediately they will ask me, so what are the postures? What are the kind of movements that you'll teach? What is it that you'll be talking about? So when we look at this classical yogic system that was formed, it's not just asanas. Asanas are just one anga or one aspect of yoga. Now there's a great repertoire that is given as to how to tune into one's own divine, one's own essential, one's own free, whole nature. And that set of practices, lifestyle, food, all of them put together is what the yogic system entails. So again, our previous speaker, he was speaking about the different kinds of food that you should choose. In yoga also there is a step-by-step process and there is an awareness as to the choices you're making. Not only with food, but with every single aspect of our lives. But let's start with food because that's a very, very important aspect. We eat at least 3 times a day. So there's a lot of influence the food has on us. So if you look at the food choices, again there are 3 aspects or 3 gunas that not just food but everything has. So நம்ம வந்து உணவு அப்படினு எடுத்துண்டா there are 3 gunas or 3 aspects with respect to food. First is this aspect of tamas or tamo guna. So anything that makes you lethargic, dull, ignorant, quite flat, stagnant. Now that is the aspect of tamas. So even as we choose foods, we look at the foods and say, is the quality of tamas predominant in this particular food type? So this is a no-brainer. Automatically you can guess what are the foods that will make you tamasic, what are the foods that will make you stagnant, what are the foods that will make you lethargic, dull. So can you guess what are the kind of foods that will make you stagnant, your reflexes will slow down, your reaction time will slow down, you're unable to function at your optimal. All the non-vegetarian, especially red meats, will make you very, very tamasic. So all red meats, anything that is fried, processed, has lots of preservatives. Now most of the foods are convenience foods, packaged foods. So we just go to the supermarket and just pick up these foods because it's convenient. There's nothing more to this. But it has no prana. Prana again means energy. So it has absolutely no pranic value in these kinds of packaged or preserved foods. So whenever we make a conscious choice of picking up something, maybe had a great advertisement thrown out to you in the TV and they're saying, oh, it's wonderful. So unconsciously, of course, you go and pick it up. And then the effect that food will have on you is that of creating stagnation, creating this kind of dullness in your system. So as we make food choices, these are 3 fundamental principles that you need to keep in mind. Very, very simple fundamental principles. Am I choosing tamasic foods, which means am I choosing foods that are packaged, that are preserved, that are making me dull, which is all red meats. Alcohol also makes you dull, lethargic, and that's why you are asked not to drink and drive. It's a very, very common saying because your reflexes are slowed down. We're looking at tamasic foods, and all the foods that make us dull, stagnant, lethargic, ignorant are the tamasic foods. Now the second aspect or guna or quality are rajasic foods. So if you look at the quality of rajas, then if you're restless, agitated, most of you would have noticed personalities like that. There's constant, some kind of nervous tick. They'll be shaking their feet. They can't sit in one place for too long. So that quality is the quality of rajas, agitation, action for the sake of action, because they can't keep still, not because something has to be done. And those are quite dangerous people to have around because they're constantly creating conflict because they like to needle somebody, like to do something, just see some drama. So the foods that create this quality of rajas are foods like coffee, tea, anything that stimulates the nervous system. White sugar, that also kind of stimulates the nervous system. So when we are looking at food choices, this is also a food group that needs to be minimized. Now with the rajasic foods, again, what happens when you have lots of sugar? There is a peak in the blood sugar, then again there's a drop, again there's a peak, again there's a drop, again there's a peak, again there's a drop. So there's a quick peak and drop and peak and drop, and it's very similar to a roller coaster ride. So whenever you find people who suddenly they're very attentive, then they get bored, then they're very attentive, active, then they get bored, then you know that their food choices are not okay. And in most of the schools in children's we find that ADD, attention deficit disorder, now that has a lot of relationship with the kind of foods they're having, which means if the children are drinking lots of Coca-Cola or some kind of a Pepsi or any cool drink which is high, or soft drink which has a high sugar content, then that naturally influences their behavioral pattern. Now again coming to sattvic foods. Sattvic foods are all those foods that create a still, calm, and regulated nervous system and a regulated state of mind. So when we choose foods, this is the food group that we predominantly need to choose from, which is all fresh fruits and everything that is wholesome. So even if you're eating, let's say, cooked food, then your rice should not be white rice. It should be hand-pounded rice or anything that has the husk in it. Or if you're eating wheat, it should not be maida. It should be whole wheat. So all these food choices that you're making have to be whole foods, not foods that have been depleted of their nutrients by removing the husk. So this is one aspect that you need to keep in mind. So just to recap, we were looking at the three qualities: tamas, rajas, and sattva. Now, in the yogic system, again, I was talking about conscious choices, not just what you eat, but when you eat, how much you eat, and how you eat it. So coming to when you eat these foods. Again, you should finish your last meal by sundown. That's the yogic recommendation, because the Agni in the stomach, or this digestive impulse or the fire in the stomach, reduces after sundown. So your big meal can be at around 11:30, 12, and then have a lighter meal in the evening. That's a general guideline. How much? They say that you should eat only half full, not till here. Most of us, when we like something, we eat up to here, how much ever we can fill it up. So if we can just eat half full. So if we need to eat half full, then also how we eat is important, because by the time the signal goes to the brain, it takes about 20 minutes. So we chew our food, we are conscious of enjoying the food, and then we slowly imbibe the food. One is how we actually imbibe the food. Now, what is the environment that we create? Now, if you're fighting at the dinner table, now that definitely is not the best way to be eating, because you know those vibrations, the vibrations of the negativity, the discord, the conflict is definitely going to affect your food. So it's not just what is going in, but how it is going into your system. So நம்ம இந்த பொருட்களை வந்து எது வந்து சாப்பிட்றோன்னு மாத்திரம் இல்லாமல் எப்படி சாப்பிட்றோம் also is a very very big aspect or a aspect that we need to become conscious about. ஆசனாவது ஒரு அங்கம், அந்த யோகா ஒரு கிரேட் சயின்ஸோட ஒரு அங்கம் தான் ஆசனா. And நீங்கள் பதாஞ்சலின்ற பார்த்தா, பதாஞ்சலி has not given an elaborate system of asanas. அவர் வந்து ஒரு elaborate system சொல்லி தரல. அவர் வந்து எப்படி நம்ம லைஃப்பை ரெகுலேட் பண்ணலாம், நம்ம லைஃப்பை ரெகுலேட் பண்ணிட்ட அப்புறம் how can we regulate our emotions, how can we regulate our thought processes. That is the whole system of yoga. So we looked at this food choices, how we are eating, when we are eating, how much we are eating, with whom you are eating. That also makes a big difference. If we eat with people we love and want to share, then the energy of love and sharing is there. Or we eat, or we bring that quality to the food, to the lunch or the dinner table or the breakfast table, then that is the quality that is predominant. The next thing is how we deal with emotions. Now that is a big repertoire, or there is a big system given in the yogic science as to first become conscious of emotions. நம்ம உணர்ச்சிகள் நிறைய பேர் வந்து சொல்லி தரதில்லை. இப்போ நம்ம ஸ்கூலுக்கெல்லாம் போனால் எப்படி வந்து ஒரு பாடத்தை மெமரைஸ் பண்ணுறதுன்னு தான் சொல்லி தருவாங்க. When we go to school, we are taught how to memorize things, never how to deal with our emotions, never how to first acknowledge what it is that we are feeling. So in emotional awareness, the yogic system says first acknowledge whatever it is you're feeling. நீங்கள் என்ன உணர்ச்சிகள் இருக்குதோ அது ஃபஸ்ட்டு இருக்குன்றது நீங்கள் பார்த்துக்கோங்க. If you're feeling angry, okay, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling upset, சரி, I'm upset. If you're feeling jealous, I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling a little irritated, I'm feeling a little irritated. So first step is acknowledging that you're feeling it. இல்லைன்னா நிறைய பேர் என்னன்னா we are in a long system of denial. இப்போ வந்து நிறைய பேர் வந்து நீங்கள் வளர்ந்துருக்கும்போது depending on the cultural context, you're taught that a particular emotion is right or wrong. இப்போ வந்து இந்தியாவில் எடுத்துக்கிட்டிங்கன்னா, இப்போ என் ஜென்ரேஷனில் இல்லை, பட் இன் மை grandmother's generation or my mother's generation, it was not okay for a woman to be angry. It was not okay for a man to cry. I don't know, in the other cultures also you'll find that certain emotions are okay, certain emotions are not okay. So depending on the cultural context, we have labeled certain emotions as good, bad, ugly, whatever the labeling is. So adukku ertha mari we will be in denial of that particular emotion even if we are feeling it. So in yoga we say, please do not judge the emotion. Simply see it for what it's worth. So if I'm angry, I'm angry. If I'm irritated, I'm irritated. So first step vandu acknowledging and accepting the emotion. Now the second process, so first acknowledging to accepting it. 3, we are working on refining and releasing the particular emotion. So how do we release these emotions? Now have you observed yourself or observed your breathing pattern when you're upset or angry? How is your breathing pattern when you're upset or angry? So immediately when you take a break and simply observe yourself, you see that there is a direct connection between what you're feeling and a direct connection between what you're feeling and the rate of breath. So what these ancient researchers in the great rishis enna pannirukanga, in the relationship gavanichu, they have observed this relationship between breath and between emotion. And they said, seri ungalku kovama iruka, you're angry, your breath rate is fast. உங்களுக்கு பயமா இருக்கா? You're very, very upset or you're scared. So what happens? You even hold your breath. அந்த பயத்தில் வந்து மூச்சு விடுறதே நம்ம மறந்துடும். So immediately they say just work in reverse, which means breathe deeply, breathe consciously, and thereby you can regulate your emotions and also release old suppressed emotions. So it's a very, very beautiful system of acknowledging, accepting our emotions without condemning, judging. What we are doing is simply releasing and refining them so that they can become better. So we learned some very, very simple breathing techniques. I know all of you have had a long day and no break also. So what we can do is do something very simple, very, very natural to what we do on a day-to-day basis. So that is what we'll do now. Sit as comfortably as possible. And just like food, breath, even more so, is very, very intimately connected to us. And simply observe your breathing. There's nothing more to this. You can keep your eyes closed. Unga kangala konjam moodikonga. I want you to take a moment and simply close your eyes. And let's simply observe the breath. So unga kangala moodikitte unga சுவாசத்து மேலே கவனத்தை செலுத்துங்க. So you're simply closing your eyes. Yeah? Can I have a bottle of water which was there? Now with every breath, just feel your body relax. And you can slowly, gently open your eyes. Now we learn a very, very simple tool to release any sort of agitation or restlessness that may prevent us from going to this quiet place. Now most of us, when we keep our eyes closed, you may find that there is either an incessant thought process. Some of you may be immediately able to just not get bothered by what the mind is doing. But supposing you have a lot of distractions, ஒரு மாதிரியான ஹெவியான ஃபீலிங் இருந்தது, உங்களுக்கு டிஸ்ட்ராக்ஷன்ஸ் இருந்ததுன்னா ஒரு வெரி சிம்பிள் பிரெத் நம்ம வந்து ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணலாம். அந்த சிம்பிள் பிரெத்தோட பேர் வந்து கிளென்சிங் பிரெத். ஸோ கிளென்சிங் என்ன? டு கிளென்ஸ் த சிஸ்டம் ஆஃப் எனி impurities, be it tamas, which is stagnation, be it rajas, which is any kind of agitation. So on a normal day, let's say you're feeling very, very going through a high stress period. And the stress period முடிஞ்சிட்ட அப்புறம் உங்கள் breathing pattern வந்து எப்படி இருக்கு? So after the stress situation is over, automatically the body goes, thank God it's all over. நல்ல வேலை எல்லாம் முடிஞ்சு தீத்துச்சு. So now I can be relieved and relaxed. So in the Rishigal, these ancient researchers, what they did was they observed this mechanism and they discovered these principles. Adanala da yoga is not invented, it's discovered. So they discovered this natural mechanism that the body goes through to release tightness, tension, stress, and put it in a systematized way. So very, very simple way of releasing or purifying the system or cleansing the system is by using a very simple cleansing breath. So with this cleansing breath, you don't need 1 hour in the morning. Now most people have that mindset, oh, I don't have 1 hour in the morning, so I can't practice yoga. Whereas yoga happens moment to moment. ஒரு நிமிடத்திலையும் when we make a conscious choice, that is yoga. So as you're sitting, let's say you're stuck in traffic, you're feeling a little agitated, ஏதோ ஒரு முக்கியமான மீட்டிங் இருக்குது, நீங்கள் அங்கே போய் சேரணும், ஆனால் சேர முடியலையேன்ற அந்த கவலையில் இருக்கிறீங்க, அப்போ you can use this cleansing breath and you can relax yourself. So we'll just use this cleansing breath. We'll do it 3 times. First we're going to breathe in through the nose and we're going to breathe out through the mouth. So we'll do this together. So you can sit comfortably. We're going to breathe in through the nose, breathe in, and breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathing in and breathing out. Now we'll do the same 3 breaths. This time, kannala moodi kitta pannalam. This time we'll close our eyes and do the practice. Now sit as comfortably as possible, being aware of how your body is feeling. So the first step in the yogic process is body awareness. How is your body feeling today? Yes, there's so much of information, there's wonderful things all the speakers are imparting. But are we absorbing the information, or are we getting uptight about remembering all of it? So simply bring your awareness to your body. And we'll do a very simple body awareness technique. Be aware of how your feet are rested on the floor. இப்போ நம்ம ஒரு simple body awareness technique நம்ம பண்ண போறோம். நம்ம பார்த்தோம் இல்ல கவனிச்சோம் that yoga it's not just asanas, இது ஒரு விழிப்புணர்ச்சி. நம்ம எப்படி நம்ம லைஃபை நடத்துறோம், அந்த விழிப்புணர்ச்சியோட நடத்துறோமா, அதுதான் யோகா. So bring your awareness to the soles of your feet and your feet. Bring your awareness to your ankles. So unga ankles மேல உங்க கவனத்தை செலுத்துங்க. எப்படி இருக்கு உங்க ankles today? அதுக்கு ஹலோ சொன்னீங்களா காலையில் எழுந்து? அது எப்படியோ ஓடுது ஒரு மெஷின் மாதிரின்னு இங்கே அதை கவனிக்கிறது இல்லை ஜாஸ்தி. நிறைய பேர் அப்படி தான். அது ஏதாவது ஒரு பிரச்சனைன்னு வந்தால் தான் நம்ம பாடிக்கு எதை நம்ம கவனிக்கிறோம். Even a car gets serviced much better than I would say our own bodies, because there's a regularity to it. Whereas the bodies are given attention only when they create some pain. So be aware.